It is 7:03. The date is April 13th, and I am going to call to order the Heritage Preservation Commission meeting. Could I please get a roll call?
Yes. Commissioner Longquist?
Here.
Commissioner Cundy?
Here.
Commissioner Birdman?
Present.
Commissioner Woodmeyer?
Here.
Commissioner Nemo?
Here.
Commissioner Hassenstab?
Here.
Chair Schilling?
Here. Thank you, Emily.
Mhm.
First item on the agenda is approval of the meeting agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as submitted?
So moved.
And do I have a second? I see Commissioner Birdman posing a second. So Emily, could I get a roll call vote on the approval of the meeting agenda?
Yes. Commissioner Longquist?
Aye.
Commissioner Cundy?
Aye.
Commissioner Birdman?
Aye.
Commissioner Woodmeyer?
Aye.
Commissioner Nemo?
Aye.
Commissioner Hassenstab?
Aye.
Chair Schilling?
Aye. Thank you, Emily. Next is the approval of the meeting minutes from March 9th, 2021. I have let Emily know of a spelling error I found, and she is correcting that. So with the correction of the spelling error, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, can I get a roll call vote on approving the meeting minutes from March 9th with the spelling error correct?
Commissioner Longquist?
Aye.
Commissioner Cundy?
Aye.
Commissioner Birdman?
Aye.
Commissioner Woodmeyer?
Aye.
Commissioner Nemo?
Aye.
Commissioner Hassenstab?
Aye.
Chair Schilling?
Aye. Thank you. Okay, now we are going to move into our report section of the meeting. First, in this section, we have a certificate of appropriateness, 4600 Browndale Avenue. And Emily, I will turn it over to you to give us the synopsis.
Thank you. Hold on one second here. Okay. 4600 Browndale Avenue is located on the west side of Browndale, south of Bridge Street and north of Edgebrook Place. The existing home was built in 1925 and is an example of the Tudor revival style. The certificate of appropriateness request tonight includes changes to the street-facing facade that are associated with a remodel at 4600 Browndale. The proposed changes include a change in that front door location, enlarging a gable attic window, a covered entry porch addition, removing an portion of an existing decorative detailing to utilize that existing driveway location. That remodel project also includes reorienting a tuck under garage to a side load garage and a large addition off the rear of the existing home. The proposed changes to the street-facing facade is the reason why this proposed project requires a certificate of appropriateness request. Like I said, this project also includes an addition off of the rear of the existing house that's not visible from the street-facing facade. Consultant Vogel reviewed the certificate of appropriateness application and provided his comments in your packet tonight, and staff concurs with Consultant Vogel's positive evaluation of the proposed plans for 4600 Browndale Avenue, and also recommends approval of the certificate of appropriateness request for 4600 Browndale Avenue based on the findings and conditions listed in the staff report. The applicant is also on the phone tonight, or on the call tonight, and they're here to answer any questions you might have as well.
Commissioners, do I have any questions? Go ahead and speak up if you have a question. No question? Oh, Commissioner Lundquist, go ahead.
First, a compliment that the applicant absorbed the feedback for the front porch. I thought so beautifully, and I'm really pleased with the solution. I did get a call from a resident on Browndale who just wanted to be sure that the size of that front porch conforms to all appropriate zoning and so on. And I'm asking that question just for assurance on her behalf, but I'm pleased with the plans.
Yes, it does. I talked with someone, I think, who had similar questions in the neighborhood, and the porch does conform to the required front yard setback. So it doesn't require any sort of, this project doesn't require any sort of variance through the planning commission or anything based on the front porch or anything to do with the project.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? Go ahead and speak up. If I don't have questions, do I
Hi,
have?
everyone. I have a question.
Oh,
Excuse
go
me.
ahead.
It looks like these renderings are a little bit more baked compared to the previous time. Has anything else changed that you should point out besides the front porch that we should be aware of?
Changed compared to the last COA application or the
Yeah. The last time, the feedback session, or I forget what it's called.
the sketch plan?
Yes, thank you, Emily.
I think the applicant might go into specific details. I know they talked at last meeting, or during the sketch plan, you talked a lot about that front porch and the way, I think they had the size of it and the massing of it. But the applicant can go into details if there's any, specific details that have changed since the sketch plan application.
Hello, my name is Ryan Fish. I'm with Peterson Keller Architecture. To your question, Commissioner, we did kind of develop the brackets at the front porch a little bit more detailed, to add a little more character to it. To the front facade, that is essentially the kind of only additional work from the previous, other than the comparison that was requested at the sketch review of, the height difference between what was there previously and what the new porch is, and the difference in elevation, and elevationally they're like almost exact or within 3 inches of one another. So we did provide that comparison within there. On the back facade, we did take off a additional stair off that terracing, and just that was essentially was just removed and that made part of the garage. But other than that, it's essentially the same as what was previously presented.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Anybody else have a question or a comment? Do I have a motion to approve this COA as submitted?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Emily, could we please get a roll call vote on the approval of this certificate of appropriateness as submitted?
Yes, Commissioner Longquist,
Aye.
Commissioner Cundy,
Aye.
Commissioner Birdman,
Aye.
Commissioner Woodmoyer,
Aye.
Commissioner Nemo,
Aye.
Commissioner Hassenstab,
Aye.
Chair Schilling.
Aye. Very good. This certificate of appropriateness has been awarded for 4600 Browndale Avenue as submitted. Now, there is a 10-day appeal period where this can be appealed to City Council. And once those 10 days have passed, the planning department can sign off on any permit. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. We
Thank you,
appreciate
very
it. Good
welcome.
evening.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have another certificate of appropriateness submitted for 4518 Tesco Avenue. And Emily, I'll turn it over to you again.
All right. 4518 Casco Avenue is located on the west side of Casco between Bridge Street and Sunnyside Avenue. The home on the subject property was built in 1928 and is classified as a Tudor revival style home. The certificate of appropriateness request includes the demolition of an existing detached garage and the construction of a new detached garage at 4518 Arden Avenue. The proposed garage is slightly larger than the existing garage. It's proposed at 22 feet by 22 feet and is shown at 17 feet tall. The Country Club plan of treatment allows for the demolition and the construction of a new garage with a certificate of appropriateness. Garages should match the architectural style of the house and the historic character of the neighborhood. The plan of treatment also suggests that undecorated exterior walls longer than 16 feet should be avoided on elevations that are visible from the street or from adjacent properties. The proposed garage is located in the southwest corner of the subject property and is generally located in the same location as the existing garage. The proposed garage, like I said, is 17 feet tall and is compatible to the surrounding garages and is within 10% of the average of existing detached garages on surrounding properties. It is also noted, or I should note on the plans that are submitted, that there is an existing privacy fence that's adjacent to the south and west walls of the garage. Consultant Vogel reviewed the certificate of appropriateness application and has provided his comments in your packet. And staff agrees with Consultant Vogel's positive evaluation of the proposed plans for the new detached garage at 4518 Casco and recommends approval of the COA request tonight based on the findings and conditions that are listed in the staff report. And with that, I can answer any questions, and the applicant is also on the call tonight to answer questions.
If you have a question, please speak up. Questions or comments? If we have no questions or comments, do I have a motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness as submitted?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it then.
Very good. Emily, could I please get a roll call vote on the approval of this certificate of appropriateness?
Commissioner Longquist,
Aye.
Commissioner Cundy,
Aye.
Commissioner Birdman,
Aye.
Commissioner Woodmoyer,
Aye.
Commissioner Nemo,
Aye.
Commissioner Hassenstab,
Aye.
Chair Schilling.
Aye. Very good. The certificate of appropriateness is approved based on the submission for 4518 Pasco Avenue. Again, there is a 10-day period in which this is appealable to City Council. Once those 10 days have passed, the Planning Department will be able to sign off on any needed permits. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Okay, third certificate of appropriateness of the evening, 4633 Arden Avenue. And Emily, you get to talk again.
4633 Arden Avenue is located on the east side of Arden, just north of Country Club Road. The existing home on the subject property was built in 1938 and is an example of the English cottage style, but was classified in the National Register nomination documents for the Country Club District as an American colonial cottage. The certificate of appropriateness request tonight includes the construction of a new detached garage, a second floor addition that's visible from the street facing facade, and changes to an existing dormer on the street facing facade, as well as changes to the entryway. The Country Club plan of treatment allows for the demolition and the construction of a new garage with a certificate of appropriateness. The proposed project tonight, the house currently has an attached garage that will be remodeled and a new detached garage will be constructed. There's also proposed changes to the street facing facade. So for those two reasons, or those two reasons are the reason why this project is in front of you tonight. Preservation consultant Vogel provided his comments on the proposed project, and he provided those, or staff provided those comments to you in your packet tonight. Staff agrees with consultant Vogel's positive evaluation of the plans at 4633 Arden Avenue and recommends approval of the certificate of appropriateness request tonight based on the findings and conditions listed in the staff report. And with that, I can answer any questions, and I know the applicant is also on the line.
Feel free to speak up if you have a question or comment.
I have a quick question. Is there a rendering of the proposed with an overlay of what the existing is and then what the proposed element is, especially for the front-facing facade?
Here is the existing elevation. You can see on the right-hand side, that's a rendering of the existing front elevation. And here is the proposed elevation for the front. So you can see that they made changes, or the proposed changes are changed to this dormer on the existing roof. They changed the placement of these windows slightly. There is a new or an change to the front entry, covered entry here with a sloped roof over the top. The large addition is on top of the existing sunroom here on the right-hand side. So you can see this is the location of the addition.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
So Emily, can you just clarify from the street, kind of the roof, the kind of the peak of the roof, that's kind of the same slope kind of as it kind of goes back. I guess the ridge line is the same ridge line, is that correct?
Yes, the applicants noted that the ridge line for the existing ridge line is not changing for the large portion of the home, the existing roof line on the portion of the home that's not without the addition. And then the ridge line is not exceeding the existing ridge line on the addition.
Okay, so the geometry of the roof as you see it from the street is the same with the exception of the two new dormers and then the sloping roof that covers the front entry. So kind of the neighborhood is not going to see kind of the whole roof being taken off and rebuilt. Is that correct?
Scott, do you want to address that, how that will happen or how the construction will happen?
Yeah, that's correct. It's the principal roof is maintaining the existing ridge and pitch. And then the addition that's going on there, currently the existing pitch of the sunroom is a little flatter than the main principal roof. So there'll be a pitch break and then it'll pick up the same pitch as the roof for the addition, then it'll be lower than the principal roof. So the principal roof is not coming off. It's just we're using that to start the addition going back.
Got it. So the eave height on the front is the same. That won't change at all.
Correct.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hey, Emily, can you talk about the plan of treatment in regards to the new garage and the placement of the garage? I seem to recall this not being a common thing.
As far as the placement goes?
Yeah, I thought that newly added garages weren't something we usually do.
So this is still, there's an existing attached garage. It's
Okay.
it's common in the neighborhood, or it has been common in the neighborhood for those existing attached garages to be remodeled or removed. So the application includes that that existing attached garage will no longer be, and there's a detached garage structure proposed. So that's been fairly common in the neighborhood with new detached garages.
Okay. And then this won't be seen from the street or minimally.
Correct. You can see here, it's the new proposed garage, or the proposed garage is located behind the house. It's like a side load, essentially.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
I have a quick question. I understand it's a very straightforward project as described. Is there a page in the application that says which walls will be demolished and what percentage? Is that part of that I just missed?
There was not that was not included in the application.
Is that a new requirement we have, Emily?
Not necessarily with all, but I can start, it's kind of been up to staff's discretion, I guess, at this point with some of these projects. Depending on the size of the remodel, but yeah, if Scott would like to touch on
Sure, that'd be great.
walls that are being removed or how the addition off the back will be constructed.
Yeah, if you keep that existing plan you've got up there, so that whole front wall is staying that you see there, the front of the sunroom, the front of the smaller gable that comes forward, and then the kind of the lower front wall on the left on the front facade, and then the north facade, that whole north side will be maintained, although it gets cut off a little bit in the rear where that existing garage was. And then on the south facade, you just see the kind of the portion of that sunroom that's there today. And then you also see the upper level principal ridge of that side, that south facing wall, the chimneys staying as well, and then the principal roof. And then there's a lot of brick on the attached existing garage that we're going to take off to blend in and then use for the front of the new detached garage. So it's pretty much the house you see today is from the front and the sides from the street, that's all staying.
Great, thank you.
Do we have any other questions or comments? Do I have a motion to approve this certificate of appropriateness as submitted?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Emily, could we get a roll call vote on the approval of this COA for 4633 Arden Avenue?
Yes. Commissioner Longquist,
Aye.
Commissioner Cundy,
Aye.
Commissioner Birdman,
Aye.
Commissioner Woodmoyer,
Aye.
Commissioner Nemo,
Aye.
Commissioner Hassenstab,
Aye.
Chair Schilling.
Aye. Thank you very much. The certificate of appropriateness for 4633 Arden Avenue has been approved.
Thank you.
Again, there is a 10-day period in which this can be taken and appealed to City Council. After the 10 days has lapsed, the planning department will be able to sign off on any appropriate permits. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next and last in our reports and recommendations section is our 2021 Heritage Edina Heritage Award. And someone's going to walk us through these properties.
Yes, so we have received 2 nominations for the 2021 Edina Heritage Award, and those 2 properties are 5504 Glengarry Parkway and 5900 Ollinger Boulevard. So 5504 Glengarry Parkway was actually nominated by Commissioner Longquist. So Commissioner Longquist, do you want to talk about the property? If you want to go ahead and talk about it, you're more than welcome to. Otherwise, I can walk through it.
I'll just share how it came to my attention. I was wanting to look for examples of mid-century modern, and some quick internet research yielded this one, which won some local professional honors, and reached out, and the architect was very willing to submit. And I thought it was a nice example. I think it's an important piece of architectural history and period stock that we have, and I'd love to see it highlighted.
All right. Do you guys have any questions on 5504 Glengarry? Otherwise, I can move on to the other property. Okay, the second one is 5900 Ollinger Boulevard. This property is also a mid-century modern home who was nominated. In 2019, the owners worked on the home's courtyard, and they did a lot of landscaping that kind of what is the word I'm looking for? Showcased the mid-century modern home and kind of brought indoors to the outdoors. It was nominated by Robert Thompson. And here are photos of the courtyard project that was done and the mid-century modern house. So I included both nomination documents in your packet tonight for you guys' review. But in hopes that tonight you guys will award the 2021 Edina Heritage Award, and then it would go to City Council at one of the council meetings in May for Preservation Month.
Is there any discussion on either of these properties?
This is maybe just a general question, just kind of, especially since both of these are mid-century project, and I know that we've awarded mid-century in the past too. Emily, what's on our radar as far as mid-century houses in Edina? Just, you know, obviously, if one of these houses were to be awarded, it would be nice to just, you know, suggest that they maybe consider being on kind of the map as far as our, I forget what we call it. Remind me.
Eligible properties?
Yes, yes. So I guess it would be good to know kind of, you know, beyond today in the context of kind of what is in our eligible properties for mid-century modern.
Robert, do you want to answer specific to our list of eligible properties in mid-century modern homes?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, we've issued a report on houses from the later 20th century, which lays out the contextual framework for how you would evaluate such a house. And there are quite a few mid-century modern. I mean, that's actually a very bad classification term. It's the one that everybody. It's like Victorian. It means almost nothing in architecture. But there are several in the inventory that you've already evaluated and determined eligible. So, yeah, there's the criteria and the context, which is what your standards for performance require. So you could probably evaluate either of these. We don't have very much of a track record evaluating landscape architecture. So I would have to craft something so that we could do it twice. But yeah, in fact, in the past, Preservation Award winners have typically been evaluated for their eligibility at some point after Preservation Month.
Yeah, I haven't made contact with either one of the property owners themselves, but that's something, especially with a lot of the subgroups that are working on, you know, providing information to these properties, it might be a good point of contact during this time to make with those property owners, engaging their interests and where they're at with that.
I would recommend that. It's a good opportunity.
Chair Schilling.
Chris, go ahead.
I'll share that I've been in touch with Robert Thompson, who Bob Thompson recommended the Ollinger period. He was in quite close contact with the property owners. I got a sense of enthusiasm from them and engagement on it. And as I drove by both the properties, the Ollinger property is in a really nice row of Ramblers and mid-century, and they sort of round a corner by the woods, by Colonial Church. I think the setting is lovely. If I had to tip my hat, I would tip towards that one as opposed to my, a little more generic outreach to an enthusiastic architect for a project that was already done. I feel like the Ollinger is a little bit more of a neighborhood cluster, although the Glengarry in Highlands, has some considerations too. But if I had to choose between the two, I just will share, I'm leaning toward the Ollinger property.
I'm gonna just make a quick statement. I was sort of casually driving around with my husband, and this Ollinger property was one of the properties I pointed out to possibly be on my nomination list.
Chair Chilling,
Yes.
as a group too, so the purpose is preservation. The Ollinger property appears to be more original than Commissioner Longquist. I think that would tip my hat in this home's favor. And I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just judging from the pictures that have been shown here. So I think that's kind of important to context to consider.
I would agree with that. Although, it's from
It's
my
hard to tell.
perspective, it's a casual observation.
Fair.
Any other comments? Does anyone want to make a motion towards one of these?
I think I would make a motion for the Ollinger property. I think kind of similar to what everybody has said. Well, the other property does, is lovely. I feel like the other one, the Ollinger property really celebrates the original house to a greater degree.
I concur.
Do we have is that a second, Commissioner Birdman?
Yes, chairperson.
Okay. Emily, could I get a roll call vote on awarding the Edina Heritage Award to 5900 Ollinger Boulevard?
Commissioner Longquist,
Aye.
Commissioner Cundy,
Aye.
Commissioner Birdman,
Aye.
Commissioner Woodmeyer,
Aye.
Commissioner Nemo,
Aye.
Commissioner Hassenstab,
Aye.
Chair Schilling.
Aye. I think that's great. I think this is a great example and very different from the award for last year, which was a country club. Beautiful
I would
property.
definitely say, in looking at those pictures, it reminds me of homes that I'm from California originally. It really speaks to the way that it was defined and described, that I don't think of Minnesota as having that type of thing. So I think that's a really great example.
Well, it is something that is obviously kind of in my heart, as you can see my ceiling. We live in a Lundgren house, and I'm wondering if this too probably is a Lundgren house. I don't know if how familiar everyone is with that, but he definitely built in California and then moved back home to Edina to continue building. Robert, you probably know more than I do, but
It is a Lundgren house. It says in the application, 1966.
got it.
And Emily, will you reach out to the property owner?
Yes, I'll try to coordinate with the person who nominated the property as well as the property owner and see if I can get contact information for the property owner through the nominator, and then coordinate if there's a meeting that works best for them in May or works best for City Council, where we could get that on the agenda.
Okay, great.
I'll
Thank
let you guys know as soon as I know too when that will be in front of City Council.
Great. Thank you. Okay, great. So we are now on chair and member comments. The first section of this is the 2021 work plan updates. I think the biggest update is that Emily and I presented to City Council. There were, some of you were there, and I think it went very well. We had a great conversation with the mayor and City Council, brought up some of the more difficult topics, and I think the attention was noted where it needed to be noted. Do we have any updates I can tell you that the walking tour is on track. And I haven't heard anything against any of the other sections of the work plan not being on track. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think we are on track with everything. Okay. Anybody have questions, comments on the work plan? So the next item on the agenda is not the best item on our agenda. Tonight is Commissioner Birdman's last meeting. So again, I just want to reiterate how grateful we are as a commission, and the city should very well be, for all of the years of energy and terrific leadership. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your leadership when you were chair.
Thank you. It's really funny how it all started and how many years it's now been. I can honestly tell you that the group that we have now really is, with no disrespect to the previous people, the level of attention, the level of engagement, the level of desire to really want to do things in the scope that is this commission. It's definitely exceeding what I saw at the beginning. And we had people at the beginning who were very engaged, but it was only a handful. It wasn't everybody. And I find that this whole group is really passionate and engaged with that. And I think it's only going to serve the community that much more as we continue down that path. And I will continue to be a very strong cheerleader of the work that you guys do, even though most people don't pay attention to it. It is critically important, and I think it adds significant value to Edina and beyond. And it'd be remiss if I didn't say, Robert, it's been such a pleasure, learning from you all these years, given your wealth of experience and knowledge and so on and so forth. And I've appreciated the fact that people had faith in me to try to guide the process. And as you have all seen, that Chairperson Schilling has more than exceeded whatever I was doing, and I think she will continue to do so. So it's been my pleasure working with all of you. And Emily, you were awesome to come in after Joyce and take over and get your feet, just dove in and took care of it. And you've been a champion from there and really steadfastly managed the whole situation. And I wish you all the best and continued success and support from not only this group, but the city as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you.
All my best to you guys. You guys take good care of yourselves.
Well, we're excited to see what plans you have next. We're going to keep our eye on you for sure.
We'll see. We'll see.
Okay. Do I have any other comments? Anything to add there? Oh, go ahead, Commissioner Lundquist.
Moving on from I just have something quick I'd like to share. And Consultant Vogel gave me a little assistance. Some of you may have heard of an organization called Just Deeds. It's part of the Mapping Prejudice. It's related to the Mapping Prejudice project that I think we are all familiar with, hopefully, at the U of M, looking at racially restrictive covenants and mapping them throughout the metro. I just wanted to share an update that there's a group of neighbors in Country Club that are interested in spreading the word about this effort, in which people can add a statement legally to their property title that says, I disavow this racist language, even though it's illegal, even though it's expired. Some people want to say, I explicitly reject it. There's 9 cities involved so far. Edina is not one of them, although it's certainly on Edina's radar, and the Human Rights and Relations Commission is taking a look and so on. Anyway, just to share, it's a great website. The Country Club neighbors are getting block captains and rolling it out. And Emily, I just wanted you to know that too. And I'm guessing the city in time may join as well, but it's a neat effort if people want to look into it.
Yeah, I can actually provide an update on that too. There is a group that is working on it within the city of Edina of staff people. The REIT team is what they're referred to. And so they're working on getting that program launched within the city of Edina. So there'll be more to come on that. MJ Lehman is a part of that team. She was going to be on next month's HPC agenda to talk about commission updates and commission stuff in general. So if you guys have any specific questions at that time, I'm sure she'd be happy to answer those. So more to come on the Just Deeds program.
Great. Thank you for introducing it to us. Okay, anyone else? Member
Chair,
comment?
I just thought I would share for those who weren't aware, weren't on the council meeting last week. 4630 has sold. The hole has been filled in. There is new tar paper on parts of the roof that had been left exposed. So through perhaps our efforts and others, there's been some progress on getting that property back to a little bit more of a secure state. So still probably a long way to go with that, but I was driving by to go pick up my girls and noticed the absence of the giant pile of dirt. So it's a positive step. So
Thanks for bringing that up. I just wanted to also, let's talk about the plan of treatment just quickly. Because I know at that council meeting, there was talk of kind of revisiting it. And, you know, we do every 10 years. And so we did this, Robert, and I think not many people who were there are part of this commission anymore. So can you just real quickly, just let us know, I guess, is there anything we can do at this moment to revisit it, or is it really a 2028 thing that people need to stick around for?
I think it's always a good idea to periodically review all of your planning documents that you generate. Actually, the plan of treatment for the Country Club district, when the district was rezoned for heritage preservation in 2002, one of the, I don't know what you call it, stipulations of the actual rezoning was to every 10 years sort of measure how review and compliance was working. And of course, if you've really been paying attention, you notice that no one could wait the first 10 years. I think we waited 6 to do the first evaluation. And literally every time it's been brought up to the council since then, somebody said, well, we'll just take another look at the plan of treatment. The problems that were discussed at the council workshop probably can't be addressed through the plan of treatment. And I'm not so sure that they can be addressed administratively either. This is a very difficult problem to deal with, but it's not a very common problem in Edina. This is another one of those 25-cent problem. You don't want to invent a $100 solution. My recommendation would be for you to maybe, as part of the next year's work plan, that you discuss not just the Country Club plan of treatment, but this basic approach to is technically called review and compliance. How you intend to do that, and how can you make it more easier to do. We sort of do this the hard way, I think, and maybe that's the only kind of way to do it. But it's probably worth talking about, you know, at that time when you're looking at the whole program and your role in it. Because most of these demolition by neglect ordinances don't work. In fact, they don't work half as well as your ordinance works already. And I'd rather we not get distracted by that.
Well, I will note that Scott mentioned to those people who were at the meeting, he mentioned that any sort of demolition by neglect ordinance would likely be a staff function that was kind of created on a staff or put on a staff work plan, and then the Heritage Preservation Commission would at that point be involved in that or review it at that point in time if it gets to that point. If, like Sarah said, thanks for bringing that up, that plan of treatment, the 10-year review had happened in 2019. I think it was finalized.
Yeah, the last one.
If there was any, specific part of the plan of treatment that the Heritage Preservation Commission wants to revisit or anything, the right place or the right way to do that would then to be put it on the work plan for council to review and have that discussion with city council while they're reviewing your work plan. And then they could say, yes, move forward with that. You should continue to look into that, move forward with that review of your work plan or the plan of treatment, or at that point in time, they'd say redirect to another, like to other work plan items that you'll be working on.
So Emily, like the soonest we could ever readdress the plan of treatment would be literally a year from now?
Not necessarily. I mean, we'll start on our 2022 work plan this summer, drafting it and getting that started. As you guys know, it is a process, so I think it's starts in September to be presented to City Council, and then ultimately it's approved in December, and then you'll start your work January 2022. So we'll start the work plan process shortly.
Sure.
But yeah, technically it would be 2022's work plan.
Got it.
Sarah, I'm so glad you brought that up. Honestly, I would not during the council meeting have, seconded the suggestion of reviewing it had I known it was done in 2019. Can I ask just for my clarification? So I assume 0 changes were made because the copy that I have in my booklet says 2008. I wonder if we might just say reviewed, and maintained and add that date stamp. So I didn't realize that review had happened. Were any changes made?
There wasn't. It was a resurvey of the district, and there weren't any. Robert, you can really speak to this because you did the resurvey, but there wasn't any significant changes in the properties that were, we haven't lost any properties that were significant. And then you deemed that the plan of treatment was working essentially in layman's terms, and then there were no changes proposed.
We essentially tallied up the scores from the previous 10 years of COAs, and the compliance was well, actually taken in the context of all the cities that try to do this. Compliance was astronomically successful. Overall, Edina enjoys a really high. It's just in basic zoning and code compliance, so this isn't that unusual. But no, everything the city could have done to mitigate damage to historic properties in the country club district worked. Things the city had no control over, we didn't measure.
Yeah, Jane, that's a good idea. I can definitely add a statement or a sentence that says the property was resurveyed in this year, and just so we can keep track of that.
Great.
Well, if you're going to start to do that, I would caution you against it, actually.
Oh.
Because the plan of treatment is originally adopted by the city council.
Okay.
And so if you're gonna review and amend it, I think they probably need to. I mean, there's enough lawyers in any room you have a meeting in, and we could do that. I'm not so sure that you'd get a lot out of it. I think you should look at some of the other plans of treatment also. You issue so few COAs for properties outside of the district that it's easy to forget about them. But some of the plans of treatment they're all much shorter than the country club plan of treatment. But some of them deal with some really thorny little issues that when they do come in front of you, it's gonna take a lot of effort on your part to carry out what plan of treatment that particular property requires. And it would probably be helpful to look at. It wouldn't take very long. I think there's only 8 or 10 of them.
I think the one thing I would just want to share with everyone, going back to 2018, 2019, as we went through that process, is that what I want to share with all of you is that there were many discussions within the board commission at that time about thinking that we needed to do something different because of what we'd seen, what we'd heard, what was happening, and whatever it might be. And what Robert's advice was, and it wasn't like poo-pooing what we were talking about. It was really, when you talk about changing the plan of treatment, it's the legal mechanism that you then are trying to do. And when it's like a balloon, you push on one part, but then it expands something different that you maybe didn't want to then do, and this balancing back and forth. So it wasn't that we were like aggressively dissuaded from doing something. It was more of trying to weight what's there. And what I think I said at the council work session was what I heard from everyone's kind of very well articulated concern was the mapping of what our process is, but to then the enforcement from the city, because we have no enforcement whatsoever. The city has to do that. And what I thought I heard we say, even at the building inspector level, the ability to enforce or to push or encroach on someone, what they're doing, if it is neglect or whatever, what was the actual process that one could walk through, and was it effective? And so I think that was I think what I heard Scott say was, okay, if we're raising that flag to say, we're not sure it's effective not as effective as it would be, considering what, Bob has said, Mark has said, and Jane has said, as to in the district, man, this is a roadmap, right? This could be a potential roadmap to problem. So I think sometimes the reaction on base is to look at the plan of treatment as a way to solve for that. And what I've heard Robert advise for many years now is, it's not like you can't do that, but that's not necessarily a scalpel. That's like you can make it turn into a cleaver. And so you're trying to take care of this one thing, but you might end up damaging other parts. And so you have to be quite thoughtful as to go for it. And that's assuming the council gave you carte blanche to say, yeah, go do whatever you want. They probably wouldn't. It's just that mindset. So I want to support wanting to continue to affect the right type of outcomes, but the mechanisms for which to do that, there are many. And I would say in parting is that I'd like to see the connection with the city staff, the city departments get much cleaner and clearer for us, as well as to applicants, that if they are running afoul of something, there's some meat on there. There's some teeth in that it's going to like hold you accountable. Not, well, I don't really know, or I'm not, who's on first? Because that's what it felt like, didn't it? Didn't this project? That's what it felt like. Well, who's on first?
That's so well said. And before we let you slip away and lose your wisdom, Michael, one suggestion I had thrown out way back, and I'd love to hear it from you and maybe Robert, would there be any value for major projects that are clearly, maybe trying to be new builds, is there value from adding a condition to say, until active construction begins, the city's maintenance code must be upheld? It's duplicitous, but would that be valuable to give us some of those teeth? I'd love to hear thoughts.
I don't really have enough expertise in that area. Robert probably would be better. I think Emily does a great job, right? Because she's the one who takes it in. It comes into her, right? In terms of there and evaluating what's going to happen and so on and so forth. I think aligning with maintenance requirements that are already present anyway, but then reinforcing that, rather than it's adding more teeth, it's just reinforcing that those teeth exist and that they can be deployed. I don't think that's ever a problem, because again, the issue I think is when the mayor came to us last year and somewhat complained about our notification process, even though our notification process was just fine, but a particular citizen was dissatisfied with what they thought was a inappropriate or ineffective notification. We were challenged to come up with enhancement to our notification process. We didn't really change our notification process, but we enhanced it in order to meet the concern that was there. I think what your question is, Jane, is along those same lines. How do you maybe enhance, clarify, whatever it is, rather than we're seeking out additional teeth at this moment? That's probably the easier path. I think what Scott was saying in last week's meeting was, if we really were going to start to add teeth to a neglect category and build that out legally, and what Robert's saying, I think is what Scott was saying, and you saw immediately, member Staunton was right on there, right? And that's his background, right? His real job is to run, was it Bloomington or Eden Prairie or something like that? He said, well, the lawyer's got to be involved with that, like from the get-go, and so on and so forth. So it already brought up spikes as to, ooh, what do you mean? So I think first blush, try to see if you can enhance the process or enhance the communication about that, and then challenge the staff and the departments as to, do those go far enough if you see this type of action? And if not, it's probably not our action to take, but it's probably to push the city in our advice to them to do more. That's what that's my thinking.
I also think, I go back to Emily's comments again and again about the process in place is working to date. I mean, all of us are concerned about preemptively making sure it doesn't happen again. And I don't think that's a bad concern. But I do think that I think it goes back to Michael's comment about it seems to be an issue of recourse. Like where is the recourse for a property that's not being maintained? It doesn't lie with us. And where does it lie? Does it really lie with the existing city functions? It didn't, and that seems to be the concern. So I'm not sure, going back to what Robert is saying, is if we can build in recourse within the plan of treatment. I don't think that that's the purpose of the plan of treatment. And I think that I do think that this is an issue that we need to somehow address in next year's work plan, but we just have to figure out where the responsibility lies.
I think, Jane, what you're talking about, like, but if there's a way for us to, even though you're talking about recourse, which I think is correct, Annie, I think what maybe you're thinking about is at Emily's level, and when we're going through that process, just like a realtor, right? Is a realtor, if someone's buying a property in the country club district, if they're professional malfeasance, if they don't inform their client, well, there are these covenants, and there's this, if they don't do that, not that you can force them to do it, but if you don't do that, that's just malpractice, right? It's like, you're just not serving your client very well. I think builders have that sort of responsibility too. How do we continue to make sure all the players who would be involved with this, we can be as proactive and clear as to expectations? So that's your proactive part, is to kind of, it's not so much a warning, but it's more of, here are the guideposts for doing that. I think what we're most concerned with is, but then when something runs afoul of that, even though it's rare, is there at least some clear process that can happen? And I think, I don't know if you have to make new law to do that. I think it's a matter of just clarifying what's then there. That's probably the easy, that's the lower hanging fruit, than digging into actually changing legality.
I think just in hearing that, I think there might be a conversation that I could have with David Fisher, the building official. I don't review with certificates of appropriateness. Planning staff reviews, or I would review those building permits that are tied to that COA request. There's building permits that are approved in the country club district that the planning department doesn't review, or that I would never see because it's interior work, or it's things that might not require a certificate of appropriateness. So I wouldn't necessarily see it. The other planner might be reviewing that for zoning compliance. So in our building permit system, there's already a warning that pops up with addresses that are historic properties. So every address in the country club district, there's a warning that says, like basically an alert that says this is in a historic neighborhood, you know, kind of alerting anyone who's reviewing or looking at permits or anything, and looking at that address in our system. So I don't know if there's a way to add on to that, or to kind of have a statement that's added to building permits when they're printed off, when a builder's printing off their building permit, to have with them that basically says that, you know, right now our code says that landmark properties need to be maintained. So that's already existing. So if that's just a statement on a building permit, that's a reminder to people who are working on the houses, contractors, just another way to communicate that. There might be, I'm not sure if that's possible to pre-populate comments on their building permits or not. I could definitely start that conversation, or if you guys want to have a bigger conversation with a work plan item, I think we could do that. So I think there's ways like to better communicate expectations.
Emily, that sounds great. And I might just suggest maybe there's a way, without listening to too many squeaky wheels in country club, when complaints are made, because I know there were multiple calls and some frustration that calls went unanswered. Hey, there's windows open on a roof, and responses were not given. So just following, like, what's the best way to realistically follow up on that? Documenting complaints would be helpful.
Yeah, I think with some of that, especially with that's where it kind of got into some process stuff because there was an application that was in front of the Heritage Preservation Commission that we hadn't taken action on yet. And so, yeah, just communicating with I think, yes, we can work on that.
One last thing that I would add to Robert's point is that you mentioned that in Edina there's a high degree of compliance, and I think what Councilman Staunton was getting at is that the legalities of actually pursuing a claim with respect to a demolition by neglect would be difficult, but there are countless laws that are on the books because of the fact that if it's a law that's on the books, most people will follow it. So if there were a rule that were on the books, and if we could remind people of that, like we do about the 10-day appeal bit, there might not be a lot of teeth. It might be a very difficult thing, and the city might never choose to actually explore it. But if 9 out of 10 people who might otherwise have tried to skirt the rules hear that and say, oh, well, they're paying attention, so we can't do that, then that might help. Because, without going further into it, I firmly believe that there was an attempt to get this house to fall over. So to the extent that we can make people aware that it's being addressed or people are paying attention, we're going to scare off some of the people who might otherwise try it.
Well, I think those are really good suggestions and really good places to start. Anybody else? Questions or comments either about this or anything else? Okay. Okay, staff comments. Emily, do you have anything?
No, I don't have anything in addition to what I've said.
Okay, one last point of business, and that's a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay.
Seconded.
Michael,
Okay.
I was waiting for you to do that.
I was waiting too. Emily, can we
second.
please get a roll call vote on adjourning this meeting, please?
Commissioner Longquist,
Aye.
Commissioner Cundy,
Aye.
Commissioner Birdman,
Aye.
Commissioner Woodmeyer,
Aye.
Commissioner Nemo,
Aye.
Commissioner Hassenstab,
Hi.
Chair Schilling.
Aye. And one last time, Michael, you will be missed. Best of
Thank you,
luck.
Michael.
Thank
You're
you
on.
for everything. Thanks, Emily.
Bye now.
Thank you.